Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chaz Kayado, and today what I'm talking about is maintaining motivation as an adult student. So it doesn't take a whole lot of explanation to go over the fact that adult students have a lot going on in their lives. Generally, they are continuing with professional careers, generally having families that they're taking care of, in addition to adding the role of a student. And it's very difficult for adults to go back later on in life and complete their degree or to work on additional degrees. So, what can we do as motivation to get us from the beginning of the journey to the end of the journey? Well, there's a few things. None of these are going to be groundbreaking, but it is nice to hear every once in a while something that we may not have heard before or may not have heard in a long time. So we'll just go over a few of them. The first is constantly keeping why you're doing your journey to a degree at the forefront of your mind. So this may be because you want advancement in your career. This may be because you've had a child and you want to show them that before they get to college age, hey, mama or dada could go and get a degree even when they had a little baby. So there's no reason why you can't do this, even if it takes you longer than just going straight out of, straight out of high school. Maybe you're showing your children that hey, it might be a long journey, but you can do it, regardless of if it's at 18 or 68. So that's one reason. Constantly focusing on the motivation. It will help you get from point A to point B. In those times where you're really, really stressed out, you really feel like you're not going to make it over that next hill, that is going to be something that will help you get there. Another motivation is just remembering the joy of completing the dissertation or the doctoral journey or the thesis that you're writing or the undergraduate degree. It feels so much better when you accomplish something difficult than ever accomplishing something simple. And that's why, when there's something simple that doesn't require a whole lot of, or a lot of difficulty, people kind of, they might do it for a little while and then they'll leave it. It's the things that take the most work that people dedicate their lives to or dedicate large chunks of their life to. And getting a degree is one of those things. So, just remember that as deep that valley is that you're in right now, there will be at least that high of a peak when you finish. So, you just have to kind of keep on looking at the next phase of what you're doing, what's on the other side of that hill. And that's going to be something that is going to keep you motivated to get from, once again, point A to point B. So I've talked several times, even have a video on time management, but this is going to be something that can help you with motivation. And the reason for that is if you can manage your time wisely, what you can do is you can reduce the amount of time that you're sitting around aimlessly working on different projects. You can refine the time to really spend the minimum amount that you need to accomplish your task. And so you can spend the other time doing things that might be more fun or might be seemingly more fulfilling, such as spending time with family. And so the more time that you can just focus in on your academic pursuits, you don't, let's say, just as an example, if you are writing a paper and you're like spending an hour here and then you have something to do and then you come back and you're spending an hour and then you just keep on doing that, well, you'll never get in a rhythm. And so maybe that paper takes 7 hours of work doing it that way. But perhaps what you could do is set aside 5 hours, just 5 hours straight, and then maybe that's not on the weekend, maybe that's even a weeknight, maybe you have to sacrifice one weeknight to get that done, but you can get that whole paper done in 5 hours versus 7 hours by doing it in a time efficient manner. And so yes, it requires a larger sacrifice at one time, but you've gained several hours back that you can do things that, once again, you might think are more fulfilling, or maybe they're just weekly duties that you do that now you're not so stressed about having enough time to do. So that's not necessarily motivation itself. If you are taking a longer time to do things, it can be more draining. Okay, and that goes to another thing that I want to talk about, and I've mentioned this before. So once again, this is not necessarily new things, but making sure that when it's time for you to break, you take a real break. Now, I'm the type of person where a break for me, between classes, even though I might have 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is, I'm going to start feeling itchy to get that work done or get started about a week or two before that class starts, just to prepare. And so for me, I don't need super long periods of time between classes. So I know that I can take a solid week and I can be good. I can feel like I've rejuvenated. But if you're not that person, then maybe you do need all 3 weeks or 4 weeks between classes to just get away from the books, put them aside, and take the you time, right? Take the time that you need to spend on yourself. Now, that does cut into preparation time, which is another thing that we've talked about can help with time management, but it's all risk versus reward. If I know that the only way for me to push through an entire class and get it done is to just really wait until the last moment possible before I have to start working on it, then I'll do that. Because if I know that if I start prepping a week or two early, I just will never feel fully recovered from that last class or the last set of classes, well, then I just have to do what's best for future me, right? And best for future me, well, you might initially say, well, that would be prep, but not in that scenario, right? So you just have to be realistic about what you can handle mentally, right? So make sure you take enough time. Now, worst case scenario, you take an entire semester or an entire term off to fully recover. We hope it never comes down to that, because realistically, once you start taking time off, it's very difficult to get back in the swing of things. But, I have seen people take a term off because of things going on in their life, and they come back ready to go. But you really have to discover that on your own. You have to think about that on your own. Is that something that that you can handle? But once again, we need to recognize, how much time do I need to take away from my studies in order to get back in the mindset of getting through that next hurdle of that next class. So these are just a few things that I can think about that are dealing with motivation. There are many more. As a matter of fact, I would hope that you could put down in the comments below what you do to keep yourself motivated, and what hopefully we can return to this conversation in a few months and possibly talk about some of those motivational methods. So once again, thank you for listening to this episode, and I'll see you guys next time.